Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott will have to endure most of his 6-game suspension, but there is a path for him to successfully trim it down to 4 games. SI's legal analyst explains what might play out if Elliott decides to sue Roger Goodell and the NFL for defamation. Ezekiel Elliott's season-long run from a 6-game suspension has come to an end. On Thursday, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit denied the Dallas Cowboys running back's motion for an injunction pending his appeal. Thursday's ruling terminates a temporary stay hold that the Second Circuit had granted to Elliott last Friday. The state had delayed the impact of U.S. District Judge Catherine Faila's ruling last Monday in favor of the NFL. The stay thus enabled Elliott to play in the Cowboys' 28-17 win over the Chiefs last Sunday. The reinstatement of Elliott's suspension means that he will miss this Sunday's game against the Falcons. He will then miss at least the following 3 Cowboys games: Eagles November 19, Chargers November 23, and Redskins November 30. It is plausible, albeit unlikely, that Elliott could return for the Cowboys-Giants game on December 10 or the Cowboys-Raiders game on December 17. This is because while the Second Circuit denied Elliott what he most wanted, an injunction that would have stopped the NFL from imposing the suspension until the Second Circuit reviewed Judge Faila's decision, it nonetheless granted him an expedited review of his appeal. Stated differently, the Second Circuit has not yet ruled on whether Judge Faila correctly sided with the NFL. Pursuant to the Second Circuit's expedited review of Elliott's appeal, a 3-judge panel on the Second Circuit will hear oral arguments by attorneys for Elliott/NFLPA and the NFL on December 1. The timing of how quickly the Second Circuit will rule following the December 1 hearing is up to the 3 judges, but it's possible that Elliott will hear before he serves the 5th or 6th game of his suspension. Given that Elliott will miss at least 4 games, he will obviously not be able to get those games back if he later prevails in the appeal. This means that should Elliott ultimately prevail, the NFL would reimburse Elliott for missed games, a hollow victory, to be sure, but one that would still furnish Elliott some degree of vindication. Yet Elliott's chances for success on appeal are also unfavorable. As has been explained throughout his legal saga, Elliott faces negative precedent in the Second Circuit because of the court's 2016 ruling in the Tom Brady case. While the Elliott and Brady cases could hardly be more dissimilar in terms of underlying allegations, they are very closely aligned for purposes of the law. Indeed, Judge Faila repeatedly cited the Brady case in her ruling against Elliott. In short, both the Brady and Elliott cases concern players arguing that their personal conduct suspensions were unlawful because these players were denied opportunities to review critical evidence and cross-examine key witnesses. In both cases, the NFL has insisted that the players demanded procedural rights that were not collectively bargained by their union, the NFLPA. The Brady precedent is a difficult one for Elliott to overcome. Should his appeal fail, Elliott could request an en-banc review from the Second Circuit. In such a review, all of the active judges on the court would hear his arguments. Unfortunately for Elliott, the Second Circuit hardly ever grants such reviews. In fact, they are granted less than 1% of the time. Similarly long odds would exist if Elliott later petitions the U.S. Supreme Court. It only takes about 1% of cases. In reality, if Elliott loses at the Second Circuit, his case is over. Will Jerry Jones now sue the NFL to block Goodell's extension? Will Elliott sue Goodell for defamation? Earlier Thursday on the MMQB, I detailed how Jerry Jones could sue the NFL over his frustration with the Elliott suspension and Goodell's handling of the national anthem issue. Jones, who is surely annoyed by Thursday's legal ruling in the Elliott case, would sue in hopes of preventing Goodell from receiving a contract extension. As explained in the Jones article, the NFL would possess a number of strong arguments to defeat Jones's claims. Even though the league would be poised to prevail, Jones could do damage along the way, particularly if he tries to organize a vote of no confidence. As to Elliott, he could pursue a separate defamation lawsuit against Goodell and the NFL. Under Texas law, Elliott has 1 year from the date of allegedly defaming statements to bring a defamation lawsuit. Elliott could argue that Goodell's August 11 suspension letter, which has become public, asserts a number of damaging claims that Elliott would contend are false. For instance, Goodell wrote, based on the entire record, The credible evidence establishes that on multiple occasions during the week of July 16, 2016, you used physical force against Ms. T.